All right. Can you guys hear me better now? Let's see if this works. Yeah. These are my Bluetooth earpiece. That's the best I can do right now. Um, this pisses me off. Okay. Anyways, welcome to the Abyss, episode 10, where people can actually kind of hear me now. Please excuse any sort of audio issues that I'm running into. This is not ideal. So yeah, basically what's happening with yeah, it works. At least it works all that. Um, so from a can. Yeah, live from a can. Um, I was trying to explain with all these audio problems that I'm having. Let me get rid of this text here. Um, that the previous episode, usually what I do with all my episodes is I archive them on BitChute, and I also upload them to YouTube. I wasn't able to do that with episode 9 because I ran into a couple technical glitches. One was I forgot to actually record a copy of my video, which I'm doing right now in this one. So this one I'll have my own copy. The other thing that I forgot to do, not forgot to do, the other issue that I ran into was with DLive.tv. DLive.tv, generally what happens is they do a playback that they hold on to for 7 days. They have a copy of your video, whatever you stream, and apparently they have some sort of known bug or issue where if you just let it sit idle within 7 days, it's supposed to be deleted. Apparently, their bug deletes it sooner. So like after 4 days, it deleted my all my videos. So I don't have an archive. The only playback that I have is Periscope. And to my knowledge, there really isn't a way to download from Periscope. Excuse me. Drinking a little fluids here. Um, so basically, I'm out of luck when it comes to episode 9. I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna try and play the replay and record my screen or something like that, just so I can have an archive of episode 9 as well. I will provide the link to episode 9 in the archive of episode 10, which is this episode right now, which I am recording. So, without further ado, kids, I want to start talking a little bit about stuff that, the happenings of the world in the politics and in the, mostly in the politics arena, to be honest with you. There's so much going on. I've been so busy this past week. These past 2 weeks, I didn't do a stream last week because I was so incredibly busy. It wasn't even funny, and I also had guests from out of town. It wasn't ideal for me to just sit and record or do anything. So I don't have a lot of stuff like prepared in terms of clips to show, so we're gonna kind of wing it and see what we can do. One of the latest and greatest things that I do want to talk about, though, is two major news items that are happening. Was These are the two things I want to primarily talk about, and then we'll see if I can kind of throw my 2 cents here and there on a couple different things. Um, but the two major news items that happen in these 10 to 14 days was the Mueller report. And not just the Mueller report, the hearing by Mueller himself, showing up at two hearings, the Judiciary Committee, if I'm not mistaken, and the the House Intelligence Committee, which is an oxymoron if you, that's my opinion. There doesn't seem to be a lot of intelligence on that committee. So it is what it is. And it was a glorious explosion of fecal matter that just kept going and going and going in the face of the Democrats. This super hyped hearing, this super hyped uh, presence of the Mueller who was going to show up and basically put the nails in the coffin of this presidency and just destroy Donald Trump and give the Democrats all that they needed for impeachment. Yeah, as you, if anyone followed the modicum of the news this past week, that was such a fail. Such a fail. It's a fail on a glorious biblical proportion. It is just, it's mind-numbingly incredible how much this whole thing blew up in the face of the Democrats. Mueller was supposed to be this towering, hard-nosed investigator kind of guy. And instead, the guy was a fumbling senior citizen who could barely string two words together, could barely make any sort of legal discussion, and apparently he hadn't read the report. And apparently he hadn't even written the report that has his name on it. I mean, it was embarrassing. It was very much an embarrassment. It was like really, really bad. And it's even to now, even right now, as I'm speaking to you about this, I'm bumbling over my own words too, because it's just incredible how bad this went for the Democrats. I mean, I knew, I knew going into both these hearings that pretty much all the answers were going to be, well, if it's in the report, that's what it is. And there wasn't really going to be much outside of the report that Mueller could really, Mueller, however you pronounce his name, how you could, I'm sorry, there wasn't much outside of the report that Mueller could have really commented on. Because the scope of his investigation, everything in that report essentially is there. And what that indicates is that there's really no there there. There's really nothing. Absolutely nothing at the end of the day when it comes to this report. And the Democrats tried to do all this spinning and spinning and spinning, trying to say, well, you're saying that he actually did do it, right? And he kept saying, no. And they kept trying to nail this one point. I was like, oh, I think it was called the OLS decision. I may be wrong on the acronym, so don't quote me on the acronym. But that there was that decision where you can't indict a sitting president, and the guy Mueller bumbled over that. At first, he said, "Yeah, that was the only reason why he didn't say you should indict Donald Trump, our president." And then he backtracked on that. Everybody thought, "Oh, a victory, a crumb, one thing." That was the only thing that they had until the House Intelligence Committee started, and it goes, "Actually, I need to correct something that I said in the previous hearing." That was the I had said that was the only reason why I didn't suggest indictment. Turns out that wasn't the only reason. Turns out there was a lot more going on. And he said that wasn't the only reason why he didn't push for the indictment. And so that one singular, solitary little crumb that the Democrats thought that they had collapsed. Their little house of cards went bye-bye. You should have seen their faces at the press release, the press uh not release. I can't think of the word right now. The presser that they did. a after Pelosi and Nadler's face looked like he was about to throw up. He was like so disgusted about how badly it went. That the little you know he's like the penguin, how rotund he is. Like he was just sitting there going, just with that one eyebrow that's always 10 centimeters higher than the other, and just sitting there going, oh man, that was brutal. That was just, you should have just seen his face. It was so damn funny. Um, but yeah, uh, I could probably try and get some clips, but one of the biggest takeaways from the whole report for me really was at the end. Um, at the end, the only thing that really mattered at the end was there was this one Republican who let's see if I can find that clip real quick. If I can find it real quick, I'll play it. If not, I'll just I'll just kind of go verbally and explain what I'm talking about here. Um, I have it in my timeline here. I'm gonna have to try and dig for it a little bit because essentially it was just one of the most straightforward questions that this Republican, uh, he's a representative. I don't think he's not a senator. Uh, let's see here. Do do do. So it's just gonna take a quick minute here. I have a bunch of stuff from the new topic that I'm gonna be talking about here because that pretty much overpowered my previous. Yeah, here's the let me get this clip up. This is pretty damn funny. Um, hold on, hold on, kids, while I nope, I need the browser one. Let's see. Oh, actually, that's right. This browser does not behave well with OBS. So let me open up my other browser real quick. Sorry for the delay. Like I said, I didn't really have a whole lot prepared in terms of materials to show because I've been having so many technical issues getting this all together that it was just kind of craziness. But here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. This should work. There we go. We have video. So check this out. Let me lower that a little bit here so it's more centered. Perfect. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Did not mean to do that. There we go. Let's play this. Let me get the audio going here. You may not be hearing the audio. Hold up. Let me make sure that okay, this is not behaving. All right. Okay, let's try this one more time. Just look at that face. Look at that face.
The Democrats had nothing, and now they have less than nothing.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Trump nailed it on that one. They had absolutely nothing going into it, and they are they are worse coming out of those hearings than they are going into them. They had all this hype, they had all this bull crap, they had all this nonsense that they were trying to push, and at the end of the day, it just completely blew up in their damn faces. It just, oh, like I said, it was just glorious. It was absolutely freaking glorious to see how terrible this went for them. And there's this other, I'm still trying to find that one rep um, that had, he just had such a great pointed question that um, it was just spot on. What the heck? Doug Collins, that's who it was. It was Rep. Doug Collins. I think this may be the video that I'm thinking of. Let's try and play this one. See if this is what I'm looking for here. So let's try and pop this bad boy in there. Alright, let's make sure that our audio is up. Once this thing's load, come on. Behave. Oh god. Damn it. Come on. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Mueller, for being here. For 2 years leading up to the release of the Mueller report, and in the 3 months since, Americans were first told what to expect and then what to believe. Collusion, we were told, was in plain sight, even if the special counsel's team didn't find it. When Mr. Mueller produced his report and Attorney General Barr provided it to every American, we read no American conspired with Russia to interfere in our elections, but learned the depths of Russia's malice toward America. We are here to ask serious questions about Mr. Mueller's work, and we will do that. After an extended, unhampered investigation, today marks an end to Mr. Mueller's involvement in an investigation that closed in April. The burden of proof for accusations that remain unproven is extremely high, and especially in light of the special counsel's thoroughness. We are told this investigation began as an inquiry into whether Russia meddled in our 2016 election. Mr. Mueller, you concluded they did. Russians accessed Democrat servers and disseminated sensitive information by tricking campaign insiders into revealing protected information. The investigation also reviewed whether Donald Trump, the president, sought Russian assistance as a candidate to win the presidency. Mr. Mueller concluded he did not. His family or advisors did not. In fact, the report concludes no one in the president's campaign colluded, collaborated, or conspired with the Russians. The president watched the public narrative surrounding this investigation assume his guilt while he knew the extent of his innocence. Volume 2 of Mr. Mueller's report details the president's reaction to a frustrating investigation where his innocence was established early on. The president's attitude toward the investigation was understandably negative, yet the president did not use his authority to close the investigation. He asked his lawyer if Mr. Mueller had conflicts that disqualified Mr. Mueller from the job, but he did not shut down the investigation. The president knew he was innocent. Those are the facts of the Mueller report. Russia meddled in the 2016 election, the president did not conspire with the Russian, and nothing we hear today will change those facts. But one element of this story remains, the beginnings of the FBI investigation into the president. I look forward to Mr. Mueller's testimony about what he found during his review of the origins of the investigation. In addition, the Inspector General continues to review how baseless gossip can be used to launch an FBI investigation against a private citizen and eventually a president. Those results will be released, and we will need to learn from them to ensure government intelligence and law enforcement powers are never again used and turned on a private citizen or a potential or political candidate as a result of the political leanings of a handful of FBI agents.
And he is spot on there. Doug Collins was on fire during this hearing. It was pretty amazing to listen to him and see how exactly spot on he was. And I got another clip. This is the clip that I was actually really thinking about. So let's watch this.
Investigation, was your investigation curtailed or
hold on, let me make sure we go back.
At any time with the investigation, was your investigation curtailed or stopped or hindered?
No.
Were you or your team provided any questions by members of Congress of the majority ahead of your hearing today?
No.
Your report states that your investigative team included 19 lawyers and approximately 40 FBI agents and analysts and accountants. Are those numbers accurate?
Could you repeat that, please?
40 FBI agents, 19 lawyers, intelligence analysts, and forensic accountants. Are those numbers accurate? This was included in your report.
Generally, yes.
Is it also true that you issued over 2,800 subpoenas, executed nearly 500 search warrants, obtained more than 230 orders for communication records, and 50 pen registers?
That went a little fast for me.
Okay. In your report, I'll make this very simple. You did a lot of work, correct?
Yes, that I agree
A
to.
lot of subpoenas, a lot of pen
A lot of
registers.
subpoenas. Yes.
Okay, we'll walk this really slow if we
A
need
lot of
to.
search warrants.
All right, a lot of search warrants, a lot of things. So you're very thorough.
You what?
In your opinion, very thorough. You listed this
Yes.
out in your
Yes.
report, correct?
Yes.
All right. Uh, yeah. I mean, if you just looked at Mueller, it looked like he needed some sort of IV drip of caffeine or something because it looked like he was about to pass out. And Collins was just on fire, hammering, point after point. And basically, what Collins was pointing out was exactly this, that the investigation was thorough. Actually, you can even argue that the investigation was beyond overreaching. It went way beyond the scope of what it should have really done. But we're not going to get into that aspect of the whole investigation because I'm not too interested in discussing that aspect of it just yet. At least not in this stream, because this stream is more just about this hearing. And he said it himself. He was not hindered in any shape, way, or form. So this whole obstruction nonsense that the Democrats keep pushing is exactly that, nonsense. There was no obstruction. It didn't happen. Sure, was Donald Trump not happy about this investigation? Yeah. Did he express displeasure at it? Yeah. Did he maybe consult with attorneys and say, well, this guy has a conflict of interest, or is there a way to get rid of this guy so there could be a fair investigation or something like that? And maybe he talked to people and they're like, no, we can't do that. There's nothing wrong with that sort of thing if it's only discussion. And that's the most leniency that I'm giving to the Democrats when it comes to that sort of thing because it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen in the way that they were portraying it. It just didn't happen that way. So you have Fuddy McFuddy here going way beyond his purview, which he didn't. I doubt he did anything in this investigation. He just probably just signed off on all these the 18 angry Democrats, as Donald Trump puts it, went bananas because they were trying to find anything to pin on Trump, and he was just like, okay, 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 I'm just gonna go get my Geritol, and signed off on all that stuff. So at the end of the day, really, um, this whole thing was a joke. It was an absolute joke. It was terrible. And Rep. Doug Collins, he pretty much sealed it, nailed it, and pretty much framed it perfectly, where it doesn't matter what anybody says, it doesn't matter what sort of spin that all the Democrats are doing. There was no hindrance. There was nothing that prevented him from doing his investigation. And then he also concluded in the report itself there was no collusion between Trump or anybody in his administration. They did not go seek out information. They did not go to Russia to try and get dirt or information that would help them, or seeking assistance in the election. It just never happened. Now, did Russia try to influence our election? Of course, they've been doing it since the 1980s, if not before that. Ever since the end of World War II, when the Cold War started, um, there's been a lot of animus between the United States and Russia has been sending spies, and China has been sending spies, and they've been trying to subvert the United States in one form or another. And you also had internal groups, um, like all these socialists and hippies and commies that are trying to destroy the United States from within. Now we have like the jihad squad, as I call it, and I've seen other people call them that way online as well, to basically to try and end the America that we know. That's their whole goal. So, going back to the hearing, though, that's what happened here. It was a big nothing burger. 30 to $40 million absolutely wasted, thrown down the gutter of American taxpayer money. And then you have Democrats complaining about expenditures of different kinds. Yet when they're racking up trillions of dollars of debt, oh, who gives a crap about that? We can do it, but the right cannot. We can waste all this investigation on absolutely nothing, a made-up conspiracy that never even happened. You know, the left was complaining about Benghazi when there was all these investigations about Benghazi. At least with Benghazi, no matter how much you may have agreed or disagreed with the investigation into Benghazi, you had a tangible reason for it. You had dead Americans. You had uncertain circumstances that led to the death of these Americans. It at least made sense to look a little bit into it. That's it, you know. Whether you agree with it or not, at least there was cause. There was solid cause to do that. Uh, the next thing, but moving on, you know, because this whole thing with this hearing is, I mean, I could go on more and more about this and talk way more in depth about the Mueller report, and I'm thinking um, we can take a pause on that for now, and then if it comes up again, we can go into a whole, um, maybe even dedicate a full video to it. I have so many topics here. I'm thinking about just doing little clips. I've mentioned this before. I may end up just recording little clips of myself and uploading them because at least with the major stories, I prefer doing kind of a live thing like this for the major stories. For little clips or little things that I've seen, I'm thinking maybe it's best to just do little videos and then dedicate the live streams to more, you know, substantial topics of that nature. One of the biggest topics du jour is Baltimore. Oh my God. Um, so Rep Cummings, Elijah Cummings, he's been a rep for like 30 years. He is the rep for the congressional district of the city of Baltimore, which is an absolute cesspool. It's been that way for 30 years. He has done zero, absolutely nothing, zero to help Baltimore. It's rat infested, it's garbage infested, the blight is unbelievable. You think Detroit is bad? Oh, I mean, Detroit is bad. Um, but Baltimore can kind of hold a candle there and say, hey, I'm kind of just as bad. So this all happened because Elisha Cummings was making an absolute fool of himself, as he usually does. Let me take this shot of the Mr. Fuddy Duddy here off. Um, Elijah Cummings made such a fool of himself in these hearings with ICE and how the border control agencies were treating illegal aliens seeking asylum, or at least allegedly seeking asylum, because I don't even know how many are seeking asylum. Um, and he kept questioning the motives, the patriotism motives, morality, and if the people at ICE even cared at all about other human beings, which is kind of a disgusting charge, honestly, because no matter how much no matter how much I disagree with the left, for example, at least in the past, let me be accurate. In the past, I tried to give the left the benefit of the doubt because I'd like to think that at the core of human beings, there's a modicum of intelligence, there's a modicum of conscience, and there's a modicum of understanding of rights right and wrong, just the core basics of what makes a human human. But in these past 2 to 3 years, ever since Trump got elected, the left has gone absolutely crazy. And I don't mean, oh, I'm gonna steal a joke from Christopher Titus. Christopher Titus did a joke about his mother saying, "Oh, she's crazy," and I don't mean, oh, she's crazy. I mean, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, uh, and that's kind of what it is with the left. In the past, you used to say, "Oh, they're just a little nutty." Uh, I don't agree with their politics, but at the core, they're patriots, and at the core, they're human, and at the core, they care. They just have a different ways of different policy um, proposals to try and fix the issue. No, no, no. That benefit of the doubt is now gone for me. I have to kind of throw that to the side now because Democrats have clearly shown they don't give a crap. They do not give a crap. And this Baltimore thing is a perfect example of what I mean about not giving a crap. You had the Baltimore Sun, if I'm not mistaken, is the news publication, which wrote about the rat and garbage infestation, like the rat infestation, how it's completely out of control, and the blight, and how terrible Baltimore is. You have citizens who are now on video saying the same sort of thing. You had a documentary, which is now being aired again, which is freaking awesome. I'm actually thinking it might be nice to air. Like I'm gonna find out when that documentary is being aired again, and if I can, I'm gonna live stream it. I don't know if I'll be able to comment while it's streaming because it depends on the time. I may be at my workplace so I can schedule the stream and just provide it for people's viewing pleasure. So that's a possibility. Who knows? I'm going to look into that and see what I can do about that. But either way, all this stuff existed for years. This isn't something recent. I mean, it is relatively recent because I think one of these materials that you can look up is even from like 2016 to 2017. So this is an ongoing issue that's gone back many years in Baltimore. The crime rate in Baltimore is absolutely insane, and Elijah Cummings has the nerve to be the loudmouth liar that he is, insulting Americans that are doing their job to try and protect our nation. That the thanks that they get is being virtually spat upon and being almost violently, not almost, they were violently attacked by a crazed leftist thanks to the rhetoric of the left, thanks to the rhetoric of people like Elijah Cummings, like AOC, like Ilhan Omar, like Rashida Tlaib, and like Rep. Presley. These people, and even Bernie Sanders, these people, including Bernie Sanders, will not condemn this. They will not condemn this violence. They will not condemn this rhetoric. So now we find ourselves, speaking of Bernie, we find ourselves in that sort of situation now where um, things that have been said for years and years by the media, by newspapers, by documentaries, by the left, by the mayor of Baltimore herself was complaining about how you could smell the rats, how you could smell the rats. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And what does Elijah Cummings do? Look at this. This is the tweet. That's the response. Let me show this here. Look at this bullcrap. This morning, President Trump attacked Elijah and the city of Baltimore again on Twitter, but but insulting tweets will not deter or distract him from the mission to ensure the survival of our democracy. Show your support by signing your name. Uh, no. Someone should get this wrinkly, loudmouth liar whose only job was to warm the seat and suckle the teat of the government for 30 years. This guy should not even be in Congress that long. Ted Cruz has talked about um, term limits, and he's actively proposing that kind of stuff. I have been saying that everybody in government, everybody, even I'm even considering Supreme Court in this in the scope of this discussion. But senators and representatives, they should not be senators for life. You should not be able to run more than like twice, let's say. I would even restrict it to once, to be honest with you. One time, maybe like a 6 year or 7 year term, something like that. That's it. And then you are barred from working in other reps or senators' offices. And you can't go from representative to senator or senator to representative. You can't. Once you served, and that's it. You're done. And this guy right here, Elijah Cummings, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, all these lifelong politicians are a prime example of why term limits should exist. But the biggest thing that really pissed me off about this whole thing with the Baltimore nonsense is these people. I mean, look at this stuff. For example, they're trying to turn this into, oh, it's not true. Baltimore is a wonderful, like, look at this. Look at this. Baltimore is a beautiful place to live. It's a wonderful, stupendous city. Look how wonderful and stupendous that is. Isn't that wonderful and stupendous? Stupendous. Wonderful. Hmm. I think I'm gonna pack my bags and go right now. Yeah. But hold on, there's another clip that was really kind of apropos when it came to this sort of thing. Let's see. I think I saved it in my timeline. Let me take a quick look. Oh yeah, there's this other like you have Brian Stelter saying the Kimberly Classic. I may be mispronouncing her name, and if I do, I apologize. But Kimberly Classic, she is the one that was showing citizens recording videos, basically proving Trump was correct. And he attacks her, saying that a black woman is obviously racist against blacks. You know, there's clearly racist connotations is what this. Here's the clip. Clearly racist connotations.
This is what was on Fox and Friends in the 6 a.m. hour on Saturday. There was this clip of Cummings questioning the Homeland Security Secretary about conditions at the border. Then Fox brought in a guest named Kimberly Classic, who went to impoverished parts of West Baltimore and made videos of trashed lots and ruined row homes.
Pretty much proving that Donald Trump was correct in saying that that Baltimore is in horrible shape. It is one of the worst cities in the United States. And Kimberly Classic, again, if I'm mispronouncing your name, Kimberly, please forgive me. But let's move on and see what the CNN eunuch has to say.
Fox called her a Republican strategist. They've called her that for more than a year now. But there is no evidence that she's ever been employed by a campaign. She did run for a local county GOP position and lost last.
Which is not true, actually. I had read about that. I don't know where he pulled that from. That's completely false. It's not true in the very least. And Brian Stelter is a liar. But, we already knew that. Moving on.
Here. So they call her a Republican strategist, maybe because she wrote right-wing blog posts for this website for a while. Then she started getting booked on TV again and again as a so-called strategist on The Hill and on Fox and other shows. Her LinkedIn profile pointedly says she's a commentator, quote, not under contract, which means she's going on Fox for free. Earlier this month, she decided to take on Cummings by making web videos about Baltimore's rundown neighborhoods. But I tell you all this to explain here is where the president is getting his information. Clackett was booked on Fox again on Saturday. The president was watching, and then an hour later he tweeted. But first, listen to what she said on Fox.
Yeah, let's
There
listen.
is a crisis at the border, but there's also a crisis in Baltimore. And I don't think many people realize this, but Congressman Cummings, it represents the most dangerous district in America.
She went on to use words that Trump would parrot basically exactly. Watch.
Let me take a moment to pause here. Why would that be a problem if Trump parrots her words? That's something that I find very interesting about his attack as well. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to attack someone in that fashion because if she expresses certain terms that are precise in what the problem is, I don't see it as a major issue for someone to say, hey, that's a perfect way to describe it. I'm going to use that terminology because changing it won't, like my embellishments or my change to it won't add anything to it. But he's somehow implying that that's a bad thing because I guess Trump can't think for himself. He just parrots what Fox News says. It's it's a little word game that the eunuch is using here. He's being very sly, and that's the thing that if you listen to reporters on the left a lot, they use certain language. They imply through either the language or through omission a narrative that they want to push. You know. But the funny thing is this: the reality contradicts what Mr. Eunuch here is saying because Trump has criticized Fox many a time. So he's trying to say here, what he's implying with that is he is saying, oh, Fox News pretty much is, is Trump news network in the sense that they will just give him everything that he wants. They always encourage everything that he says. They say, they're always positively going to cover Trump, which is not true. Fox has actually kind of, I wouldn't say veered away from conservatism, but it seems like you have several people on there that are never Trumpers and are very biased in their reporting. Chris Wallace is one of those examples where he would hammer hard certain people and then throw softballs to like people on the left or people or conservatives that are never Trumpers. He people that support Trump, he hammers them harder, puts a lot more of his opinion into certain reports. So that's what I mean. But let's move on here. Let's play the rest of this out.
There's abandoned row homes filled with trash, homeless addicts, empty needles that they have used, and it's really right next door. So it's attracting rodents, cockroaches, you name it.
The videos are real, but they're not even Fox's videos. They're relying on an unpaid guest who went in the neighborhoods, talked to people because she wants to support Trump and tear down Cummings.
Sorry, I had muted my mic for a moment. Um, what I was saying is that injection of motive by the eunuch here, Brian. If by some sort of miracle you actually watch my video or listen to it, I want to ask you a question. Do you think it's completely unreasonable for someone to live in a blight infested city, infested with mice, infested with garbage? Do you think it's completely unreasonable that someone may just want to do something about the blight that they see? Or they want to try and get rid of the mice infestation, try to improve the city in which they live, in the district that is represented by Elijah Cummings. Is it so unreasonable that that may be her motive? No, no, no. Of course, you have to inject a motive, a conspiratorial motive about what her goal is. And that's frankly disgusting because you have no evidence except what you like to just pull out of your ass when it comes to this sort of thing. And I don't really appreciate that in general when people try to implicate motives. Unless it's pretty clear what the motives are because of the wording or of the behaviors that these people use. Like, I will call, for example, Ilhan Omar a domestic terrorist. Because and I will call her an anti-Semite, for example, because she has expressed anti-Semitic tropes and words, and she has not apologized for it. She has said homophobic things, so I will call her a homophobe. She has said racist things, so I will call her a racist. She has said sexist things, so I will call her sexist or misandrist. So there's where the difference lies, Brian, eunuch, sir, Mr. Stelter. That's where the difference lies. You are implying motive merely because you don't like the fact that she's highlighting the truth that Donald Trump has latched onto because Cummings keeps criticizing how the border is being handled, and his district for 30 years has been a third world country, essentially, which kind of funnily, in a funny manner, I don't know if funnily is an actual word, but in a funny manner, Bernie Sanders, let me see if I can find this clip because this is just freaking glorious. It is so funny that Bernie Sanders was the one that said that it pretty much seems like you were in a third world country. Going to Baltimore. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't make this is like better than a comedy show. This is so funny. And let me see if I can find that clip. I think I have it in my timeline as well. Give me just a quick minute here. Let's see if I can find that. Um Here we go. Here we go. I got it. Let me let me start this
But
over here.
anyone who took
Whoops.
that we took, but anyone who took the walk that we took around this neighborhood would not think you're in a wealthy nation. You would think that you were in a third world country. But today what we're talking about is a community in which half of the people don't have jobs. We're talking about a community in which there are hundreds of buildings that are uninhabitable. We're talking about a community where kids are unable to go to schools that are decent. But anyone
Yeah, Bernie. Guess what? You're right. It is a third world country. It's a trash heap of a city. And now Bernie Sanders says, "Oh, that they're lying when they said that he said that they're talking. It seems like a third world country." He tweeted that. He said, "Oh no, that's a lie." It was his words. It's on video. I mean, how ridiculous. This is turning into that Shaggy song. It wasn't me. But she saw you in the kitchen floor. It wasn't me. She saw you in the bathroom. It wasn't me. This is turning into the "it wasn't me" party of the Democrats. You have video of all the garbage, all the rats, all the blight. Now, Baltimore is it wasn't Baltimore. It wasn't me. Baltimore is a beautiful city. Okay. Bernie Sanders said it was like walking through a third world country. You have hundreds of homes that are uninhabitable. You have blight everywhere. You have unemployment through the roof. No, Bernie says, nope, wasn't me. Okay. Really? We really want to go down that path? And then you have people like also putting videos up, like there was a video that Donald Trump was talking about signing. Actually, he was signing the 9/11 responders compensation fund, the law that made it permanent for those folks. And he explicitly said he made a comment saying, that he was down there with the first responders, but he never considered himself a first responder. And there's a tweet, I don't remember who did it, but the tweet says Donald Trump says he says he's a first responder. He literally said, I was there a lot, but I don't consider myself a first responder. I mean, how more clear can you get? But the left and the Democrats have to keep lying and lying and lying and lying and lying. And this is the big problem with the Democratic Party. They are just seething. They are vicious. They will not condemn violence. The Democrats are a dangerous party. They become a party of lawlessness. They become a party of violence. They become a party of socialism and communism. They have become a destructive force not only within our government but within the country itself, because they are pushing people to violence. They are. They're not condemning Antifa, which the government right now is, the last I checked, was considering calling them, declaring them terrorists, like domestic terrorists, as they should, because Antifa is a domestic terrorist group. They are not anti-fascist. They are the fascists. They are the violent ones. They are the ones that are trying to dismantle civility within our nation. There is nothing wrong with people just going out and protesting on one side of the aisle or the other, but these people are taking it to an extreme where they're hitting people with bike locks. They're trying to arm themselves or talk. I've been seeing stuff on Twitter now about, the leftists telling leftists, start arming yourselves, get guns. These people are trying to incite a quasi civil war, and this is very dangerous. It is very dangerous rhetoric, and the Democratic Party, if they want to survive as a party, it would be wise for them to say, hey, you know what? Okay, we don't like the president, fine, whatever. Let's just take it easy. We don't want people killing each other. We want to try and keep the discussions, civil. We want to try and focus on the policy. Let's try and not, go bananas here. But the problem is that the left is putting themselves essentially with their backs against the wall here, and they keep crawling into a tighter and tighter and tighter corner because they keep saying, on like one day they say something that's incredibly insane, untrue, absolutely off the wall, and then the next day, what do? They either double down on it or they say something that's even crazier, even stupider, even more false. It's a exponential thing that's happening more and more and more, and the left it's going to a place where most moderate Democrats are never going to go there. It's just going to be way too extreme for them, and this is going to benefit Trump and the conservative movements. It's going to benefit us come 2020. Trump will win. I mean, to me, there's no doubt in my mind that Trump will win. The biggest question here is how the House and the Senate configuration is going to change, if it's going to change. 90%, I think it's like 90% of everybody in Congress right now and in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, they're going to be up for re-election. You're going to get a lot of people that are going to get primaried, I think. I think the squad is going to get primaried. You already have challengers coming up. You have whether the challengers are good or not, we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I mean, the approval rating of Ilhan Omar, for example, is in the single digits, barely 20% or so for AOC in her district. And the more time passes and the more stupid stuff she says, because she's just an absolutely stupid individual, her numbers will just keep going down. So it's actually been benefiting her, I think, being second fiddle within this little squad nonsense, because it's kind of taken the focus away from her and her alone, because she was getting a lot of focus. And I mean a lot of focus because of how dumb certain things were that she was saying. It was just absolutely stupid beyond belief. And you're at a point now that she's pretty much competing with now with other people saying absolutely stupid stuff. So, the question then at this point is what's going to happen in the future? And to me, it's not really complicated, as I mentioned. I'm pretty sure what's going to end up happening is that, um, as we saw in this midterm, you had a shift where, yeah, the House of Representatives did shift over to the Democrats, but it wasn't a blue wave as they were hoping. The Senate actually gained conservative seats. And what that tells me is the country is split, obviously, but it wasn't enough. And this whole Mueller thing, everybody, all the Democrats ran on trying to do this impeachment thing. That's the only reason why the House had any sort of change, was because of this whole impeachment rhetoric in the very blue areas. So the the Democrats were able to gain a couple seats and were able to get their majority in the House. And now that this whole impeachment thing's fallen on its face, they have nothing now. They have no policies that they can put forth. They have nothing. Absolutely nothing. They just have absolutely nothing. So it's going to be very difficult for them to, I think, to maintain their seats. And it's going to be very difficult for them to flip seats, I think. I do really think that there's a good possibility that both the Senate will stay red, maybe they gain a couple seats, and the House is probably going to split. A lot of people are not happy with the Democrats. They really are not. And the Democrats are not doing themselves any favors whatsoever. Absolutely not. So we'll see how things end up when it comes to that. And we'll figure it out. What I would recommend to everyone though is, just because the possibility of Trump and the House and the Senate being red are very good, which they are. I'm not incredibly concerned. Don't take it for granted. Liberals, the left and the Democrats are incredibly motivated. These are desperate times for them. They're holding on for dear life right now because their party is really looking bad. And every day that passes, they're looking worse and worse and worse. So they're going to reach a point of desperation here where they're going to want to do whatever they can to win. They're going to commit voter fraud. They're going to bust people in like they did with that's how they flipped a lot of seats too in the House of Representatives. There was electoral fraud that happened. They want to eliminate rights. They want to eliminate the electoral college. They want to fundamentally destroy this country because they cannot take the fact that they are losing control. They are losing power. They are losing influence. The media has lost the influence that it once had. CNN, I haven't even seen CNN in certain airports now. That's how bad it's gotten. CNN viewership, MSNBC, CNN. I don't even know if HLN is still around, to be honest with you. It probably is. But the mainstream media and the main publications that were left leaning are at a point where their viewership and numbers are absolutely horrible. And what the viewership they have gotten, it's more because they're a train wreck, really. Or these people that watch them are pretty extreme in their views, so they're going to stick to watching them. But they're not, the media has pretty much lost all credibility. Even Fox News has lost credibility because of some of the never Trumpers that they have on there. And that's a bad thing for them. And it's not a good thing for journalism in general. Um, the other problem is the party itself, as I mentioned. They're not doing themselves any favors as well because the stuff that they keep saying, they keep defending policies that are essentially contrary to our Constitution and to our laws. They don't protect our citizens. They propose policies that protect foreigners. They're inviting foreign invasion. They're inviting lawlessness. They're inviting violence. They're supporting domestic terrorism. It's a complete clown. It's clown world. It's very much clown world. So don't assume just because things look good, like the going is good for Trump's reelection, and the House and the Senate may very well all stay or flip completely red again. Um, don't assume. Go out there, register people to vote, register Republicans, register conservatives, try and reach out to moderate Democrats that are basically left behind in the dust of the party, just veering off to the left crazy land. And we need to try and make sure that we get a massive turnout. Conservatives need a massive turnout to make sure that the Democrats don't gain power, as they should not. Democrats have proven they really don't deserve to be in power anymore, and the Democratic Party really, it's at a point, in my opinion, that the Democratic Party really, should it really exist anymore at this point? The only concern is this, that if the Democratic Party dies, the left has gone so far left that the only thing left within the Democratic Party is going to be socialism, socialist and communist. And what I'm thinking is going to happen is maybe you will get a splintering. Maybe finally this will turn our country into a non-two-party system country now. You may have, or you'll have kind of what's happened within the Republicans, where you have, people, they all label themselves as Republicans, but you have Tea Party Republicans, Libertarian Republicans. You may end up getting such a splintering and fracturing of the Democrats that even though on paper you have Republicans and Democrats, you may end up having such a diverse variation of liberalism and diverse levels of conservatism. You may end up with that sort of situation. So that may be a beneficial thing, actually. It can be, but it depends on how the layers are distributed on the left. Um, which I don't know. It feels like to me that there's far more crazies and far more socialists and commies and just anti-Americans on the left versus like the rhinos on the right, because that's one thing that the right has that's a problem. You have people that say they're conservatives, they're not really. Jeff Flake was an example of this. Um, but those were the two major topics I wanted to talk about. Please excuse all the technical issues that I had. As I mentioned about episode 9, when I upload this video, I may end up doing some video editing on this one because of all the audio issues that I had. I may cut out a lot of the dead, dead air that I had, or at least label it so people know when dead air occurred. We'll see what I can do about that, and I apologize for that very much. And as always, please support conservatives. Please support creators. I will be including I think on video as well. I'm going to put it on video, but in the description, if you go to streamlabs.com/theeternalabyss, you can support me. I really appreciate it. Your support will go into making content and making sure I can keep doing this streaming indefinitely. So please, if you can be generous and be as generous, of course, to the best of your ability. And anything is appreciated for supporting these live streams. And I want to try and reinvest any sort of support into making more content, better content, maybe even bringing on people to improve when it comes to like the research and prepping materials and things like that, so we can have a more professional kind of show. This is something that I would like to keep doing, and of course, I would like to keep doing it if people like listening and people think I have something valuable to say. So please support me. Streamlabs.com/theeternalabyss. Um, One final thing. If you enjoy kind of hanging out, listening to me and chit-chatting a little bit, but you don't want to hear politics too much, I also do gaming stuff, which is a politics-free zone. That would be The Eternal Gamer. You can find me on Twitter, The Eternal Game #2. Or you can just do some searching on Twitch and Mixer and everything, and you can find me on there. But please share, subscribe, follow. Don't miss out on other videos that I'm gonna like I mentioned, I'm gonna try and make clips and videos, and I'm gonna try and do some on-demand stuff, and we'll see what we can do. So I want to thank everyone for watching. If you lasted all the way to the end with all the technical issues that we had, I really appreciate it. And I want to wish you kids a great night, and I'll be back doing. I'm gonna try and do the stream super regularly as much as I can. Have a wonderful night. Bye.